Shabbat Shalom on this double parsha, Bahar Bechukotai, the last two parshiot of the book of Vayikra. Bahar Bechukotai. Bahar Bechukotai. In Parshat Bahar, God describes the laws surrounding resting the land and crops every 7 years, as well as a jubilee year every 50 years. Yud-Heh-Vav-Heh permits the use of slaves, but provides stipulations including the obligation to eventually free your slaves. In Parshat Bechukotai, God tells Bnei Yisrael that if they follow God's commandments, they will be provided with rain to feed their crops. Then Yud-Heh-Vav-Heh describes the long list of punishments, the bad things that will happen, the yin and yang of our existence, that will be inflicted on the Israelites if they do not follow God's instructions. Daber el bnei Yisrael v'yamarta alehem. And Yud-Heh-Vav-Heh spoke to Moshe at Mount Sinai, saying, Ki tavo el haaretz asher ani noten lachem. When you come into the land which I am giving to you, V'shavta haaretz Shabbat ladonai, the land will keep a Shabbat to Yud-Heh-Vav-Heh. In other words, the land will rest. This is quite radical. We've already been given the instruction some time before that we are, us, the Bnei Yisrael, to keep Shabbat. Now, Yud-Heh-Vav-Heh is instructing that the land itself, haaretz, highlighted here in green, shall also keep Shabbat. In other words, we rest, and the land will rest as well. Bishnat hayovel hazot tashuvu ish el achazato. In the year of the Jubilee, you shall return every man to his possession. What does that remind you of? Of course, the Liberty Bell in Philadelphia, the Liberty Bell, which proclaims, throughout the land, proclaim liberty throughout the land until all the inhabitants thereof. This is quite radical too. It is instructing us that, the way things are not always the way things will be, because at a certain time, meaning on the Jubilee year, on the 50th year, everything will go back to the pristine way that it was before. It's almost like we are being invited back to Gan Eden, to the Garden of Eden, to start again. V'haaretz lo temacher litzmitut ki li haaretz ki gerim v'toshavim atem imadi. The land shall not be sold forever, ki li haaretz, for the land is mine. For you are strangers and sojourners with me. You are gerim v'toshavim. This phrase, these words, are what we're going to lean into for a short while. First, let's take a look at ki li haaretz. The land is mine. This is Yud-Heh-Vav-Heh basically saying, I am the landlord and you are my tenants. We are temporary caretakers. We are in partnership with Hashem to take care of our world. But we are not in charge. We are not permanent responsibility for all of these, because it's just temporarily ours. We are temporary residents. And so being here for just a short time, well, some of us 90 years, but many of us a shorter amount of time, we are not only temporary caretakers, but we are temporary residents of this world. We are gerim v'toshavim. Now let's look at the term ger toshav. It means a resident foreigner. In biblical terms, it meant a non-Jew residing in the land of Israel who has agreed to abide by the 7 Noahide laws. You might be wondering, what the heck are those? Well, these people, first of all, are considered neighbors who are protected, loved, and giving sustenance other than being mere strangers to us. They live with us. They abide by some of the mitzvot, the laws that we have been given, but not quite all of them. But we treat them just the same as we would treat each other. Let's take a look at the 7 Noahide laws. First of all, you're going to recognize many of these as being present in Aseret HaDibrot, the 10 Commandments, the 10 utterances, and one that, or two that are a little bit different. Do not worship idols, acknowledging there's a single creator. Do not blaspheme, prohibiting cursing or taking the name of God in vain. Sound familiar? Do not murder, recognizing the infinite value of human life. Do not steal. Do not commit sexual immorality. That is to protect the family unit. Do not eat the flesh from a living animal. Oy vavoy vavoy. This is the Bible's attempt for us to have some rachmanis towards the creatures that we live with. This, by the way, is where the word treif comes from. I lie to you not, but there was at one time a custom of pulling off the limb of a live animal. Litaref is to remove, to tear off. It's really a tearing. Oy, I'll stop right there. But that's where the word treif comes from, of food that is treif, not kosher, not kosher, not fit to eat. Finally, establish courts of justice. Now, this is a little bit different than our 10 utterances, 10 commandments, requiring societies to create a legal system to enforce the other 6 laws. In other words, let's create a legal system that's fair and just to each and every one of us. All right, let's get back to these words. Ki gerim v'toshavim atem imadi. Ger toshav is the singular for gerim v'toshavim. But you'll notice there is a vav, a connecting letter in there that arrow is pointing to. So what's the difference between a ger toshav, a resident foreigner, one who is a resident alien or a sojourner who lives with us, versus a ger v'toshav, a stranger or strangers and a resident in the plural? The foreigner residing among you must be treated as your native born. Love them as yourself, for you were foreigners in Egypt. This is familiar to all of you. Especially, v'yahavta riyacha kamocha, there's a resonance of that. But here it says, v'yahavta lo kamocha, love them as yourself. In other words, love the foreigner. Love the ones who have come to make their home with you. Ki gerim hayitem ba'aretz Mitzrayim, because you, meaning us, B'nai Yisrael, we were strangers in the land of Mitzrayim. I am Yud He Vav He, your God. This whole theme of being strangers in the land of Egypt, it repeats itself more often than anything else in all of Torah. Here's another example. When you reap, do not remove the corners of your field, or gather any gleaning of your harvest. La'oni v'lager, there's the word ger, the stranger, to the poor and the stranger, ta'azovotam. Don't push them away. Ani Adonai Elohechem. Leave them for the poor. Leave what? The gleaning, the corners of your harvest. And of course, on Shavuot, we'll be reading the book of Ruth, where this becomes such a major trope and an important part. And when Boaz tells his workers to leave the corners of the field for Ruth, thereby doing a mitzvah of leaving the corners of the field, the peyot, for the poor. Alrighty. So there are times when we feel strangers in the world that we live in. We have strangers, gerim. I don't quite like the word strangers. It doesn't embrace this, all of it. We have gerim v'toshavim, the Jews, the non-Jews among us here at Moshe, such as Bruce and Alessandra and others of you, not Jewish, but you like to hang out with us because you love the feel of this community, of this spiritual practice. That's being at home in Moshe, but it's not necessarily being at home in the world. And I know for myself and for some of you, there are times when we do not feel at home in this world. The Maggid of Dubno, a Talmud of the Baal Shem Tov, he teaches that if we act like owners, toshavim of the world, God becomes a stranger, a ger, who only visits occasionally. But if we live as gerim, as strangers who acknowledge we're just tenants here for a temporary time, then God becomes a resident whose presence fills our lives. This is no surprise that this is a more heartfelt understanding of this phrase, gerim v'toshavim, from a psycho-spiritual angle. The Lubavitcher Rebbe of blessed memory, he urges us not to choose one over the other, that we are commanded to be both passionate residents of this world, caring for it and improving it, while maintaining a quote-unquote cold detachment of a stranger who knows this world is not the ultimate reality. So it's not an either or, but a both and. We are gerim v'toshavim. We are residents and we are strangers. We at the same time. Coming home here, coming in for a landing, what does the Lubavitcher Rebbe mean by balancing quote-unquote passionate residency with cold detachment? On the detachment side, that is when we recognize the physical world as a mask for the divine. And this prevents the ego and materialism from obscuring the soul. But at the same time, we live engaged as a toshav, one who dwells within this land, in this world. And we are human. We utilize physical objects, food, money, property for holy purposes, transforming the mundane, everyday experiences into a holy residence, a holy dwelling place for God. And so, my sweet friends, it is not a matter of either or, of being a ger or a toshav, but being both, of living in this world and being partners with God. And so, on this Parshat, Bahar Bechukotai, may we be blessed to find ourselves at home in ourselves, at home in community, and at home in this world. Shabbat Shalom.